Hello again YouTube, this is Jonas Walsh, also known as At11 in City of Heroes on the Union server, and we continue with my Posterity videos for the game, for my characters, before the game shut down November 30th, and this dancing idiot here is Adam Dennison, my Warshade. Yeah, that's one of the many dance emotes in the game, but yeah. Adam Dennison was probably one of my more jokey characters. The background was simply, he was a former friend of Eleven's. It was was a lot more straight-laced and whatnot. Got himself near death because of a tragic accident, and is still around by virtue of a mutual merger with an escaped Nictus. Yeah, I'll try my best to explain the lore of the Warshades and the Peacebringers as best I can. So, essentially, in City of, you've got these two alien races known as the Peacebringers and the Warshades. So the Peacebringers were alien beings essentially that merged with other beings mutually, and would obviously go ahead and take the, still use some of the forms being used, that they previously had used. Running into trouble here already. So they would make use of forms of previous entities that merged with. The Warshades, though, were essentially escaped Nictus. The Nictus were the enemies of the Peacebringers. Their whole deal was that they would actually not have mutual mergers. They would be forced mergers through scientific means. You got a lot of Nictus-based enemies in the Council, actually. But those that escaped the Nictus because they didn't want anything to do with it anymore would escape and essentially look to do their first merger and become Warshades. They would still have the powers associated with Nictus, but they would essentially be reformed. So I never actually had a Peacebringer myself. I just figured I had the Warshade and that was good enough, because oh, I'm in trouble here. I've had my endurance drained. Try and quickly make one up. There we go. Draining of his essence to get some of that back. There we go. Very difficult thing to play as Warshades and Peacebringers. Yeah, the actual sort of like game mechanic reason of it here. Oh, actually, I'll tell you what I'll say. One little thing, caveat that you got with the Peacebringers and Warshades before I forget to mention, you'll notice you've got a Void Seeker here. If you played as a Peacebringer or a Warshade, you would have these appear in mobs. You would either get the Seekers, which was them, or you would get other Nictus. In the forms of the Nose and the Dwarf, which is the flying squids or the big lobster tank things, or you would have the normal enemy group enemies, but they would actually be known as Quantums, and they would actually have a quantum gun that essentially did massive damage to Chaldeans, which was the general name of the beings, either Warshades or Peacebringers. So yeah, you would see them turn up in mobs. Usually the Chaldeans would obviously scream that you get rid of them first, otherwise they would get him in the, get in at the neck. So, but yeah, the actual mechanic of getting Peacebringer or Warshade, they weren't available to you immediately, traditionally, when you first got the game. You had to earn it by virtue of getting your first level 50. So that's how I got mine. I actually did initially make a Warshade on Defiant after getting 11 to 50, and was keen to play with one because I'd seen them running around and they look pretty cool. But didn't really get any further than that because I obviously took my break from the game, and then when I went on to Union, made the point to obviously make one again. Obviously this one became 50. But yeah, they actually changed it so that you could actually get one at level 20, which a lot of people were a bit sort of about. They actually thought that it kind of demeaned the work that people had put into, because obviously getting to 50 wasn't as quick as it, you know, had become. But I was ambivalent because I already, by the time that change had actually happened, I'd already had my Warshade at 50 anyway, so it didn't bother me in the slightest, really speaking. But they were very difficult to actually to work with and to plan out. There was a lot of more powers available to you in both sets by virtue of there was obviously your human form which you started with, but then at level 6 you would get your Nova form, which was the flying squid creature, and then level 20 you'd get access to this one, which is the pseudo tank. I know Peacebringers, there was plenty of Peacebringer builds I saw out there that were viable as human only, but generally speaking the Warshades, the consensus was they always work better in Triform, which was mixing between the three forms, which you know, I'm led to believe there were some human-only Warshades builds, but and I'm sure they actually worked for whoever was using them. But the consensus was Warshade, they were better used as Triform. Essentially, you would do a lot of control-y things as the human form, and then quickly swap between the dwarf and the Nova to get the most out of. You notice I actually managed to make some floating essences based off fallen enemies. So one tactic would be either that you would go in, use your double Maya, and let them do all the blasting, while essentially you stay in tank mode with the dwarf here, and they'll obviously do most of the damage. Or I could easily just, you know, go straight into the flying form, just so that there's even more damage output essentially. So there was various ways you can play it. Actually, they were a very acquired way of playing. Really, you had to really know what you were doing to get the most, you know, to get the most out of it. And I tell you what, for whatever reason, I mean, I used to play this character quite a lot, because you know, if you were able to play one really well, they were very, very powerful, even outside of IOs. I mean, IOs probably would have made them even more phenomenally powerful. But you know, I remember teaming up with regularly with someone that was a tanker once, and basically made the comment, bloody hell, can you know, leave some for the rest of us to actually muck on with, because I was just destroying everything at one point. But I don't know, for whatever reason, just all of a sudden wasn't playing this character as much. And I mean, I'm still a little bit rusty now actually. I'd actually made an attempt at recording of this, and I was just playing terrible. It just wasn't working at all. So I'm doing a little bit better on this playthrough for this recording. But yeah, I just don't know what it was. There wasn't, I mean, nothing had actually changed with the Warshades or Peacebringers significantly. There was a few subtle changes here and there, but I mean, nothing that was major. To the point of, oh well, that's it, I'm not playing them anymore because they're broken. I mean, they were still working. I don't know, I think it was just simply because by virtue of making some ridiculous IO characters, like with the likes of Torv and whatnot, I suppose they just, you know, outshone the Warshade, and you know, it was and they were a lot easier to play. I suppose that might have been the case, but I still intended to IO build this character out and probably play it a bit more, but again, it's a case of probably not meant to be now. But yeah, it was they were very powerful if you could play them. I mean, they weren't for everyone's taste. I mean, you had to know what to do with them. That was probably, you know, a lot of people played out and said, "Oh, they're rubbish and they can't do this, they can't do it." It's like, I think really they were probably meant for, you know, obviously veterans that get into 50 and essentially wanted something that was a little bit more challenging, a little bit more involving the players. So I enjoyed the character enough to get it to 50, and even at 50 I was, you know, playing a lot and getting involved in a lot of teams. I think they probably were better in teams, I would suppose. I probably got more out of it when I was playing in teams. You know, particularly if I had a tanker that was proving the distraction. I think it would make life a lot easier. But I mean, even on their own, I seem to be going through a mission here without any relative problem. But yeah, I think they probably did work better in teams anyway. But yeah, it's quite possible there's actually playthroughs out there that are actually better than what I'm doing here. So, you know, if you're interested in what these were all about, or certainly with the Peace Bringers, because I never got the interest into trying out a Peace Bringer after I'd made the Warshade. Really speaking, I'm sure there's better people that's made videos out there that demonstrate it. But yeah, so I suppose a shame that I didn't really get back to it in a real way. But there we go. Like I say, I can't really explain what caused it to essentially, you know, spend a lot of time logged out. But yeah, wasn't anything massively wrong with the character, I suppose. But yeah, for whatever reason, that was the case. So there we go. Probably not much else I can speak on that, so I think I'll leave it there. So that was a Warshade. Probably not the best played Warshade. Like I say, there was probably better ones out there, but in any case, we'll leave it there. And let's just say that this is Jonas Welsh, or at 11, and see you on the next video.